I spent my creative juice building and painting today's miniatures, and now I don't know what to type into this text document because using a decent program like Word is for beginners. I had a bunch of bits laying around and thought, why not build something out of these more or less leftover parts. And now I had an idea for a better intro, something like kit bashing produces a lot of unused parts. Let's see if we can build something out of them. But no, I don't change that. Let's start with the legs. I actually wrote legs into the script because Darktide and its always screaming arbitrators has rewired my brain. I really come into this script and into this voiceover with a lot of different types of energy. And now I realize that I actually started with the torso and not the legs, but who cares about a common thread. These Tartaros Terminator bits, best Terminators by the way, were a leftover from my 5-man squad of Templar Brethren back when Horus Heresy 2 was actually cool, and I thought I combine them with some parts that don't fit. But let's try to be a decent human being for a while and clean up the hobby mat, because even I cannot work in such a chaos, and after that I cleaned these parts because I already read the comments about the mold lines. Love you guys. These first edition Stormcast Vanguard have round joints, like the Space Marines of old. But they don't really fit the Tartaros armor, so I had to saw them flat or even off. By the way, do you also hope we get new Vanguard forces in AOS 5? I mean, they are like Space Wolves, but only for AOS, which makes them cool, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on today. Coffee and heat really is not a good combination. Now this is more to my liking. It also denies the fact that our future brother here looks like a long cat. But I still needed a little bit of green stuff to get these parts together correctly, otherwise they wouldn't fuse. But you know what wasn't smart? Me. I wasn't smart and glued the entire torso together, and now I couldn't fit a helmet or head through the slit of it. Which means I had to rip the top part off again to make room for such an important part of a human being. But before I did that, I obviously needed to decorate the armor with the only Custodes part I ever had and give him his arms. And now, 2 minutes something into this video, I finally tell you what I do today. I built two Slaaneshi brothers competing for Slaanesh's gaze, one very arrogant and prideful and the other one very prideful and arrogant. One a swordsman and the other one a gunslinger. The swordsman get the swords of the flawless blade, and now we come to the gunslinger. I had some Slaaneshi weaponry laying around and gave him the Screamer pistol for his left hand and the Plasma pistol for his right one. And I have to say, I really love this one. The stance that these two arms create is so fitting in my opinion, like he couldn't be bothered shooting. I mean, have you ever seen a Space Marine holding his weapon this lazy? I thought I lean into the stance and tilt his head a little more backwards, so it also looks very arrogant. It looks strange first, but when it's painted it's okay. Glowing eyes effect will make this cool. And now you know what? Now is the perfect time to glue on the top part of the Tartaros armor. Trust me, I experienced it firsthand. Sorty here gets a Stormcast Eternals head that in my opinion is also a great Horus proxy. I wanted this one to have a different energy, so to say. Like he's extremely proud but also sure of his abilities, standing in a very open stance, being more or less a challenger. I had to roll some more green stuff balls for their pauldrons so I could elevate them. These are just normal Slaaneshi ones. And by the way, if you like this type of content, you could consider liking, hyping and subscribing, so we reach the 15k mark by the end of the year. And now that these two lads are more or less complete, let's decorate them. For Pistol Boy here, I obviously went with more pistols because you know the saying, more Daka is more Daka is more Daka. Also more pouches for more ammunition, and a trinket that was a leftover from last week's build. This Chaos Terminator's trophy rack is an excellent addition for his Terminator armor as well. I only had to flatten the back a little. And glued it on. And to make sure that everyone knows which allegiance these two have pledged to, the symbol of the Emperor's children had to thrown on their left shoulder. What am I writing here? I tell you, the third always produces wild scripts. Anyway, I wanted to lean into their characters a little more, creating something like a drama queen for the pistolero, so he obviously needed some more jewelry. This one comes from the Keeper of Secrets, by the way. And while I give our swordsman here his little symbol of the third, I wanted to take the time and thank my amazing patrons and channel members. Thanks to you guys, I started a big secret project which hopefully is done by the end of the year as a grand roundup of 2026. But coming back to Sorty here, to lean a little bit more into the regal look, I used this amazing leftover build from my last Saturnine build and decorate his armor. I only had to cut it into the right length, which I nearly overdid, and when that was done, I primed the minis black and started painting. But before we come to the painting part, I want to show you what my community over at Discord has created the last week. I started with Vallejo's black and Wolf Grey in a 90-10 mix. The idea was to give these two lads a split color scheme, one side in purple and the other side in black, and obviously mirror each other. For the purple I used Hexlichen and dark purple in a similar mix, because I wanted to have the bluish hue of the Hexlichen to be very dominant. And after that was done, I defined the edges of these two colors by mixing more and more Wolf Grey into it. So for the purple side it was about 50-50 Hexlichen and Wolf Grey, and for the black side it was more like a 30-70 mix, 30 being the black in this case. I generally look out for these overlapping armor parts like the boots and mostly do edge highlightings. For their shoulders I thought I'd do something different by giving them white ones, with dark sea blue as an underpainting. With that color I have a nice bluish undercoat that synergizes very well with the purple. And now I again do the Uno reverse and use dark sea blue with a tiny amount of Wolf Grey for the kilt and the cords. The trim was obviously painted with dark bronze once again, because I cannot do anything without that paint. I also think that these lion-style ornaments really fit the Emperor's children. The swords, the guns, the weaponry and everything that is mechanical, as well as the gems, or however you want to call these, got the coat of Vallejo's silver. And yeah, obviously the symbol of the third. For the skin I used my trusted recipe of Bachmann's Glow and Light Flash that I applied with a very old brush and a dry brushing motion from the bottom up to the top. Don't ask me how I got away with that. After that I gave their eyes a small glow effect of Abyssal Turquoise and the rest of the Light Flash, and did the same thing on that plasma pistol, but with a little more water added into the mix. And once that was done, I only used light bronze to dry brush over the trim and called the miniature done. I only said Emperor's Children twice this video. No, 3 times. I had this idea lying around in my head and on the table for about 2 months. And I have to say I'm very happy about the result, even if this video is an extremely chaotic mess. But sometimes one gets in the workiest of workflows without even realizing something like working on two different miniatures at the same time might be confusing for the viewer. But maybe it was obvious to you that I first built the frame of the miniatures and added some more details in the end. More or less like I always do, but this time on two different miniatures. And with that said, thank you for watching, and if you like to support this channel, feel free to check out my Patreon or become a member for some lazy behind the scenes and voting power. Regardless, we are going to see each other in the next one. And gave him his screamer pistol for a left hand? What? And... Mann.